What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions.
There's no way out of here. When you come in, you're in for good. There was no promise made. The part you played, the chance you took. There are no boundaries set but time, and yet you wasted still.
Welcome out, everyone, all of you amazing decoders around the world, wherever you may be, both male and female. My name is Logan, and this, of course, is Decode Your Reality, and today we're going to be breaking down and decoding Eden's Recycled Garden. And this is kind of, a follow-up to my Serpent Decoded. Of course, you can't have the Garden of Eden without the serpent. That's story. So I hope you've watched my Serpent Decoded. But I decided to use this song that's playing in the background by the band Unicorn. And here it is right here. And, most people know it by David Gilmour from, one of the members of Pink Floyd. He remade this song. And it's called No Way Outta Here. And, it's just so funny because, ladies and gentlemen, you know my stance on how this reality is. I think it's just completely scripted. I think whatever created this reality is a stand-up comedian. It has a lot of joy in scripting it, my stand is mankind's being used. And, this is no exception. So this guy right here, Ken Baker, was the original artist that wrote this song by this band. It's funny, just Unicorn, Universe. The album came out in 1976, 76, of course, tied to not only the word Nephilim, the original spelling of it, the numerology of it, but also tied to the element osmium, the Wizard of Oz. And, when you really look at this No Way Outta Here, the title of the song, there's the yin yang. And the yin yang, of course, is tied to light, and it's tied to Jack and Jill and this duality that we're all playing out. Even if you type in Ken Baker, which I'm sure is not his full name, but you have the 24, and the 24 is tied to the 89, because the 89 is the 24th prime number, 89 tied to Yaldabaoth, and then it also, this is a prime Fibonacci number, and, the 11 tied to sodium and the salt of the earth, and yada, yada, yada. It just continues. It will just continue to go on and on just by this song, No Way Outta Here. And is that really what's going on here? I mean, is there a way out of here? It's all theoretical. My Prison Planet series, I've talked about this. But maybe we just never get out of here. Maybe we just kind of either level up or level down. And if that's the case, then, you want to obviously check all the things off the list to be a good person, to level up. And just what does that entail? Or does that even matter? I mean, even the album right here, Too Many Crooks, when you decode that, it's 53. And, that's a match to this right here, which is what I think this reality is all about. A Ponzi scheme. I think this entire reality is based upon just a giant Ponzi scheme, which is a pyramid, which is going to lead to the Eye of Providence and the all-seeing eye. And I have that, obviously, right there in the dead center of this graphic. And this is something that I found, the Recycle logo. And, when I was starting to look at the symbolism, there was the Eye of Providence that fits right in the middle of it. And the guy that designed it, was he aware of this? Or were they aware of that? Well, it doesn't matter, because mankind is being used to deliver this code, and I'm being used to deliver this presentation for you. And you've been seeing it with my timestamps and et cetera, but let's jump into this. Get strapped in, put on a pair of headphones. This one's just ridiculous. I mean, more of a gem, more of my gem decoding here, I think anyway. But let's start off with just a little sneak peek here. The word Eden comes from the Hebrew language. That's where the story comes from. And notice that it's a 16 in the numerology of Hebrew, which is a match to the words light and the word Adam. I mean, the first man. I mean, the word Eve is 16 as well, but Adam is the first man. Just spelled it a little bit different. But of course, what does light have to do with the Adam? Well, it has everything to do with it. If you're a fan of Santos Bonacci, he'll say all is a tomb. Adam, a tomb, the tomb that we live in, it's light, ladies and gentlemen. Tied to photons, tied to the alchemical elements on the periodic table and sulfur. But how about that? Right out of the gates, it's the Garden of Eden. So is the garden inside Eden, or is it of Eden? And Eden is the ruler of the garden. Well, obviously, through the original spelling, the Eden place is light. It's the city of light, which is, to me, is the sun. And light is heavily tied to the atom. So you can see how the allegorical story through the Hebrew and the Torah is tied to physics and so many other things. So that was the intro, ladies and gentlemen. And now here are the three topics for this presentation. Number 1, 19 and 20. Number 2, angels and demons. And then the last topic, number 3, recycle. This is going to be advanced. So if you make it to the third position, recycled, you know the 1937-46. I got more information on that. Continue to dig into that. So I hope you make it all the way through this presentation. Only about 15% of you will, but as fate would have it, that's just how it is. So let's get into the first topic, 19 and 20. What does that mean? Well, we're going to start off with the 19, and that's going to be Eden through the Chaldean. See, Chaldean and Hebrew are heavily connected. I could show that in another decode, but not today. But I can tell you that Chaldean and Hebrew are literally in bed together. That's why the Chaldean's so special. But you'll notice that, Eden is tied to the word spirit. Like the spirit in the sky. You know that song, Spirit in the Sky. I mean, if you go look at that right here. Here it is. By Norman Greenbaum. Came out in 1969. There's that 69. There's No Way Out of Here. And then the B-side. Well, it's just hilarious. If you've been paying attention, it's the Milk Cow. And I feel like we're all cattle down here. It's just a funny joke to me anyway. What else are we going to do? Get angry? Get pissed off? If there's no way out of here, you got to make the best of the situation. And that just may be the case. But nonetheless, the spirit is tied to Eden. This is tied to the sun card. Now, these cards, of course, if you follow the Torah, the tarot, they're heavily influenced by Jewish mysticism. Almost said Judaism mysticism. Jewish mysticism, which are going to be tied to the Torah and Kabbalah. But it doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, because these cards that were created by, this is the Rider-Waite deck. These people were being used to create them. You can become conscious of the code. But nonetheless, it gets easier and easier. You start to see it and see it and see it. But it doesn't matter because mankind's being used. I'm going to show you an example during this presentation, but where's our spirit from? From Eden. Through that story now. I'm not saying that this is the absolute story to follow, because there are many other ancient texts. There's, Hinduism, there's all these other religions on the world stage. Hinduism and Buddhism, they all have their own story. Then you have your mythologies, Greek mythology, they have their story and they're saying it. So there's just so many layers to this. This is obviously a big one because the Holy Bible is the most popular spell book on the world stage. But it's tied directly to what they would say is the devil, is the tarot cards. But it doesn't matter because they fit right into the Old Testament and New Testament. But there's the Eden and the Spirit, the 19 tied to the Sun card. So where's our Spirit from? Well, looks like it's from the Sun here, Spirit in the sky. And then what about the 20? So it's the Garden of Eden. So is the garden in Eden or is it separate? Because it does say they got kicked out of, but maybe it's they got kicked out of Eden. And that story to me means you're leaving your spirit and you're now becoming physical matter. And you move into duality, into the garden. I mean, think about it. This planet that we all live on, it's a garden. It may not be a garden everywhere, but think about when this planet was in the golden age. It was a paradise. And what feeds the garden? The sun does. That's what feeds it. Photosynthesis wouldn't be possible without the sun. So without the sun and the spirit, and obviously Eden is the sun, there is no paradise. There is no duality. There is no you and I in matter. Because we are just light beings slowed down into physical matter, and we're playing our roles in the garden. That's what this is saying right here. Clearly. And then the 20th card in the tarot, to follow up after the 19, the sun, it's the judgment card. So the tarot, and heavily influenced by Jewish mysticism, they're going to tell you that you're going to get judged. It's all about judgment down here in the garden, in duality. That's what this says right here. And then we just keep going and have some fun with this. Tie some more layers into this. How about this show called Westworld? I did a decode on it. I hope you watched it. I feel like the Westworld show tells you probably exactly how this reality works. Mankind being used. I mean, the Westworld itself, when you do the numerology of it, it's a number 40, which is a match to the weight of calcium. Calcium being the 20th element, it's got an average atomic weight of 40. And you see, the reason why I have the skeleton here is because 99%, right around there, of all the calcium found in our bodies is in the bones and teeth. So you get the skeleton and you become a bag of bones down here in duality. When you leave the spirit in the sky, which is the sun, which is Eden. It's just what it means. All right, you enter Westworld. And is this something that's just all pre-planned and predestined? I think so, because like I said, I've been showing it over and over, 300 plus videos. A lot of you great decoders have been showing it as well. How about this example as well, to go a little bit further? Eden being 19 through pure mathematics now is a very special number because it's the 8th prime number. And, remember, if you've been paying attention, the sun makes what's called an analemma shape in the sky as it moves through the calendar months, and it's in the number 8. Okay, it's in the number 8. So that's undeniable. That is nature expressing itself. And then we come down here, and here's the word garden in the original spelling of where it originally came from the original story of the Torah. It's the number 8. You see? So Eden and the garden, are they one and the same? I think garden is separate, and I think garden means earth. And if you just go a little bit further, 35, if you've been paying attention, the word simulation. equals the number 35. The element gadolinium, the 64th element, gadolinium equals 35, which is the television screen. You're on television, said Ed Harris and The Truman Show. That's right, because we're on television. We are entertainment for the gods. So I decided to kind of bring in the tarot and look at this number 19 as it's the 8th prime number, and to get a bird's eye view of that. And it never fails to deliver these great cards of the tarot and the cards of illumination and the medicine deck. And I mean here it is, it's the sun in strength, the 19th card and the 8th card. And when you say the sun in strength, it's going to give you a total of 59. What's so important about this? Well, bam, there it is. It's the game of life. You see, so when you come down and become matter, you now end up playing the game of life. We're in a game, folks. You're in a game. Just like if you're a video game player and you pick up the remote control and you control a character, you are playing that character. You think it's any different in our reality? You think, oh, well, I have complete control of my life. I'm not being remotely controlled. Not me. Not you. You're not. You're the exception. The game of life is what we're playing. 59. And of course, 59 is tied to Praseodymium, which means the two twins, the green twins, which is going to tie into Gemini and Castor and Pollux. You could just keep going with this. What about the cards of illumination? From Eden, being the 8th prime number tied to the sun. Well, here's the 19th card. It's the 6 of clubs, which means victory. And then the 8th card is the 8 of hearts. Okay? So it's the 6 and the 8, which is going to be tied to erbium. The word erbium equals 20. 20 is tied to duality. 20 is tied to garden, as you know now, right? But this 68 right here, we can now bring it into the tarot to get the picture. That's how valuable the tarot is. And the 6 of clubs becomes the 6 of wands, and the 8 of hearts becomes, the 8 of cups. And, this card right here, the 6 of clubs, again, it means victory. 6 tied to the pineal gland. Are we just inside the pineal gland of the cosmos? Are we all just in a dream? Are we just daydreaming? But this card means victory. And then we have the 8 of cups. And this card means walking away. Leaving behind your spirit in the sky. And now entering into what it means to be a human. Hue spelled H-U-E, as in light. Light man, light woman. And it's the 44th card in the deck. And 44 is tied to gold currency. And 44 is tied to the element ruthenium, which is the 101, which is tied to the portal. And it's the 26 prime number, and 26 is tied to our blood. And it just keeps going on and on and on and on. But these two cards right here, 28 and 44, when you add them up, that's going to give you 72. And just like that, we now bring in alchemy once again. And this was a massive, massive find for me. I was trying to figure out what this hafnium was all about. It's a very important element. Very, very important element on the world stage. And, here's the icon that the Royal Society of Chemistry uses to depict hafnium. Comes from the word hafnia, which is tied to Copenhagen. So those of you in the Netherlands, rejoice. This is your element. A lot of great Dutch people out there. Flynn and others. Great decoders, man. All you great decoders out in the Netherlands. And this is it right here. And what does this represent right here? Well, they're going to tell you it's representing Copenhagen and all that. But folks, what do we have? We have the moon. And then we have 2 stars on each side. Okay? 2 stars on each side. Remember, we're talking about leaving behind your spiritual self to go on a spiritual quest. That's what this card means. And it's victory. Victory and then spiritual quest. There's the moon right there. walking away, and there's the moon right there. And here in hafnium is tied to 72 protons. But how about the story of the 72 angels and demons? And that's what we're going to get into now, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. This is what I think runs this reality. It's push-pull. It's good cop, bad cop. It's the angel and the demon. One of them on each of your shoulder. Whispering, telling you to do things. And I think that's how this reality works. And it's tied to the Elohim. That's right, Elohim, from the story from creation in Genesis, which is where Adam and Eve comes from, which is where Garden of Eden comes from. So we go right back to the Elohim, and Elohim is the gods that made us in our likeness and image. It's more than one. And I feel like it's the angels and demons. Right? And we just gotta have fun with this, because people are like, oh no, I'm not made from the demons. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, these are just words that we use. I mean, through the numerology, demon is 25, angel is 17, that's 42, and that's going to give you life, the universe, and everything. And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So the angel and demon that run this reality is going to be tied to the number 42. But it's right here. It's the Elohim and the 41. Because you see, this 179 is the 41st prime number. And there's the most abundant weight of hafnium. There's the bridge, the clue, the 179. 100, and then there's 79. 79 is gold. So this is what I feel like really what this icon means. It's the angel and demon on both sides running this reality. It's the Elohim, which creates mankind through the context of this story now. And this is kind of a dead giveaway. And it's 72 protons. I mean, it's really right there, and we found that right from these two cards from the tarot. Found from the cards of illumination. Found from the 19 being the 8th prime number. See how many layers we go down? See, that's why mankind could never script or code this reality. We're just along for the ride. That's it. So going a little bit further, what about this Elohim, the L, which is going to be 53. It's going to be the 13th prime number. So we just keep going, and this is where I feel like we're playing out a game. And is it the Elohim playing out us as characters? Are we just tied to the gods that created us? Or the sentient beings, or the celestial beings, or however it works? Is there somebody playing us? Well, I think so. So there's really no other way to describe it. From all the videos that I have now, 300 and counting, decoding people, places, and things. How this reality is scripted. People are scripted. Things that happen are scripted. From the most general to the most popular. We're playing a game. It's called the game of life. And mankind is being used. And it's not a bad thing. Just you got to know what you're being used for, what your position is. I mean, even when you bring in the Christ, this famous scripture right here, a big one in the New Testament, Revelation 22 verses 16, 16 tied to light. 16 is tied to light. It's tied to Eden. 22 tied to Titan and and titanium. The word Michael equals 22. The word dragon equals 22. But this is a big one. Jesus says that he is the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star. Well, what is David? Well, through the original Greek where it came from in the New Testament, bam! It's a 41. And just like that, we now have a connecting point of the Elohim and David, who Jesus said he was the offspring of. And, I mean, the bright and morning... So what is David? The bright and morning star. What is that? See, some people say, oh, it's Venus. Well, folks, I don't know, man. I mean, unless Venus was once a sun and it moved out, maybe. But I just don't think so. I just don't think so. I mean, the sun is the most dominant celestial above our heads. It's the most dominant. But nonetheless, I think it all going to point back to uranium and Uranus. If you ask me, it's just all pointing to uranium and Uranus. And I got more to go on that one. But this is a big gem right here, a big gem of a find. To me, it's undeniable. I mean, we're playing a game. We're playing out a game, folks. You are the Christ. You know? You are the Jesus Christ character. Having your experience called life. And so, you know, when we connect alchemy to this 41, tied to David, it's called niobium, this element. And the weight of niobium is 92.9. So 92, as we go even farther, niobium is in line with uranium. Uranium is the 92nd element. And if you start looking at the Jesus Christ character, some of these illustrations, thank you, Joe Roland, he puts his two fingers together. He's pointing up in sign language. When you put your two fingers together, that means the letter U, as in uranium. And that's as in the universe. And that as in sky. Uranus was Father Sky, who mated with Gaia Earth to create all the celestial planetary positions out there. All of them, according to mythology. I think it's more fact than it is myth. But here's the person I wanted to show who is scripted. And this guy was being used. No one's out to get you. No one's trying to mock you, and no one's trying to screw you over to get one up past you. All right? And this is just a perfect example of how this guy is being used. This guy right here, Charles Hatchett, was the guy who discovered niobium. Now, here's the icon the Royal Society of Chemistry used for this niobium element. And it's the pentagram, which is what we all are. How important is the pentagram? Check out, some of my latest decodes. You're going to see that the pentagram is tied to the 7 chakras, and it's tied to the element gold. And this is not by accident. I mean, they're going to tell you it's used in aviation. That's what the symbol means, and that's maybe what they think. But when you know what you're looking for, it's tied to mankind. This is the Elohim making man in the likeness and image of themselves. And then they create these avatars, then they come down here and play out the game. Wouldn't you? If you made this reality, wouldn't you come down here and say, hey, I want to go play that game called life. It looks pretty cool. I would. So why is it so far-fetched to think that that's what these stories mean? And this guy was being used. Charles Hatchett discovered niobium, and if we just show his name, it's a 53. Folks, I mean, Yeshua equals 53. In the original Hebrew spelling, Yeshua tied to Jesus, Jesus being tied to David, David being tied to niobium and the Elohim. And it's tied to iodine. One half of the I am that I am. I mean, look at this. Charles is 22. Michael's 22. And then 31 is going to be tied to light and Lucifer. I mean, you just keep going on and on. How about his birthday? Born January 2nd, 1765. So this is another way that you could decode yourself from. I put a sneak peek out onto the Telegram group that we have, Decode Your Reality Telegram group. And this is what you should be doing. You should be taking your birthday and spelling it all out through numerology in the Chaldean cipher and see what number you get. And then you try to tie that into an element on the periodic table. And then you got to go deeper. You got to figure out more layers of your life on what to connect, etc., etc. But if you're willing to go deep, you're going to find some connections that will show you your source code, your script. And this guy right here, I mean, think about what I'm showing you right here. His full birthday spelled out in numerology is a 121. And as I have been showing over and over, that this element means the implant in our brains. Antimony is tied to the implant in our brains, it's tied to the pineal gland, and it's tied to the all-seeing eye of Horus. If you cut your brain in half, you're going to see the all-seeing eye, the Egyptian all-seeing eye, and it's tied to this element, antimony. Now, for those of you that are new, when you go to the periodic table and you look at this element, a little slow my internet here, whoops. You're going to see, here it is. This is the icon they use. And this is what it means. The name is from the Greek antimonos, meaning not alone. Think about what I'm telling you here, what this is saying right here. Not alone. And this guy's birthday, who discovered niobium, tied to the Elohim, tied to David and the Christ, and perhaps the makers of mankind themselves, it's tied to the implant in the brain, this guy right here. But wait, there's more. What about his birth card? Well, as fate would have it, you see, this guy was being used. January 2nd. Here's the January 2nd card. It's the Queen of Spades. Let's just check that out. Whoop. Here we got January, and there's January 2nd. It's the Queen of Spades. Let me just zoom in. There it is. January 2nd. Queen of Spades. And then we go over to the lineages of the cards, and lo and behold, what is the Queen of Spades? The 51st card in the deck. And we go back over to this guy, and there's tied to antimony, and tied to the full spelling of his numerology of his birthday. Folks, this guy was being used to discover niobium. Right here. He was being used to discover it. That was part of his job. The gods were remotely controlling, or maybe they just incarnated into this guy's body and decided to play the game. However that works, I don't know. But I know that mankind's being used, and we got to have fun with it. I know that's a pretty heavy way to put it. You could say people are possessed or possession. You know, I mean, the word possessed equals 45. That's tied to mind control. I got some stuff coming out with that, Elohim in an upcoming video, and I'm going to show that. And here's the sneak peek of that right here. I have this decode coming out. This one's going to be another gem, folks. The dog and butterfly, the Elohim. You do not want to miss this one. You do not want to miss this decode I have coming out. I got some really big ones coming out. But this one right here, you do not want to miss it. You're going to want to see this one. You're going to want to see this one. So let's move back into this 19 again. And move into the card of illumination, the 6 of clubs, which means victory. Okay? It means victory. And if you just say the 6 of clubs, it's going to link right back to the Elohim. Victory. Let's make man in our image and our likeness. Our, plural, angels and demons. Tied to that story in that context. Right there. I mean, you can't miss this stuff when I show it to you now, folks. You have the eyes to see it. Okay? I've been using this methodology for years and years now. So many different ways to break this stuff down. So now we're going to get into some Lucifer again. I hope you watched my serpent decoded. Serpent means light. Lucifer's tied to light. So is Jesus, light of the world, light bringer. But it's tied to the Elohim. It's tied to the Elohim. You see, this is through the Hebrew breakdown, but if you go to the Hebrew gematria, one step above, and you make the numbers a little bit bigger, you're going to get the number 86. And this was a big clue. Because now you're going to get into this element right here called radon. And, this scripture right here in Isaiah 14 verses 12, the only scripture that talks about Lucifer, there's only one. It's in Isaiah 14 verses 12. It says he's the son of the morning. What's another word for morning? How about dawn? Radon. You see? And it's 222. Radon is Lucifer. Which, if you know how to look at these alchemical elements, you see they all have decay rates. Decay means they break down. And radon comes from radium, which is the element of Ra, which is going to go all the way back up to uranium. It's all going to go back up to uranium and protactinium and all these elements in the 90s. But I know this to be absolutely sure. I didn't even say that right. I know this to be my absolute now. Right here. Radon means morning. Morning means dawn. Radon. And you can't miss it. There's Elohim in the Hebrew gematria. And, here's just a nice picture of it. You see, Lucifer is the son of the morning. This is when the sun is rising. That's why your rising sign in your astrological chart is so important. Your facial features, your personality, so heavily tied to your rising sign. A lot of people think that they're more in tune with their rising than their sun or anything else. I tend to agree. The rising sign is heavily influencing your life, and it's tied to Lucifer. And Radon is 19, and there's the connection. Bam! Right there. And you go back here, it's tied to the Elohim. So Lucifer has to be part of the Elohim in this context. Has to be. Right? It has to be with this, which is tied to the Christ. So is Lucifer and Jesus one and the same? Or is it good cop, bad cop? Is it yin yang? I mean, the sun is all yang energy. It's white. It's light. Light is yang, not yin. It's masculine, yang energy. Right there. So this is absolute for me. Lucifer's tied to Radon, the son of the morning. Ra and then dawn. And morning means dawn, D-A-W-N. But phonetically, it's the same thing, folks. Okay? So if we take this 86 from the Elohim, and we bring it into the golden ratio meaning the sun and the patterns of nature, measuring nature. 86 occupies digits 23 and 24. And if you add up 23 and 24, you're going to get 47. And now you're going to get into the Israelite God of the Bible, the Tetragrammaton. So is Lucifer, is the Elohim just the Tetragrammaton? Is the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh just the Elohim, which is the Tetragrammaton? I mean, some people say the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh or Yahweh is above the Elohim. Maybe? Or are they just one and the same? I mean, 23 is a heavy number tied to the royal star, the lion. Lion is the fifth zodiac sign ruled by the sun. 23 is tied to the words blood, crown, and history. Very, very important. And then 24 is tied to our DNA. But, it's 47. 23 and 24, found from the 86 through the golden ratio, 47, and we get into scripted reality. And I've been saying this. I even have a series now. I have another one coming out, scripted reality number 3. And this is going to be one of the slides. Scripted reality is a 47. That's why I know we live in a predestined script. It's called life. I mean, the word life equals 17. The word matrix equals 17. Reality is 17. And it's 47, and it's the 15th prime number. And the 15th element is phosphorus. And what is phosphorus tied to? Lucifer, the light bringer. So you see, they're all tied together. All these concepts, they're all tied together. And how about in the string of pi, the 86, tied to Radon and Lucifer, the son of the morning? Well, look at the heavy hitter stuff here. 86 appears at digits 74 and 75. 74 being tied to the big W in tungsten. W is the 23rd letter. I mean, if I just go right back up here, there it is. Through the golden ratio, 86, 23. You see? Here it's 74, and 74 is tungsten called wolfram, and there's the big W on there, and W is the 23rd letter. So that's how connected this is all source code. Man never coded this, ever. Man's just along for the ride. But it's 74 and 75. And then you get into this element, rhenium. And now you get into Lucifer because, see, Lucifer's original Hebrew spelling is 75. And then rhenium is 28. Lucifer's 28 in Chaldean. And then the dead giveaway is, what's the weight of rhenium? 186. What's the speed of light? 186,000 miles per second in a vacuum. Right there. Bam! So, obviously, it's tied to Lucifer, it's tied to Jesus and the Christ. Are they one and the same? Well, it kind of looks that way. So here's kind of, a little bit more stuff with the 19. We get the spirit, we got Eden, and we got the soul. Soul and spirit, one and the same. Coming down here to play the game of life. 19 being the 8th prime number. So I decided, okay, let's go 19 digits into the string of the golden ratio tied to light. And look at what the last digit is. The frickin' number 8, which is tied to the 19 being the 8th prime number. And it's this number 108 when you add it up. 19 letters, or 19 numbers here. 108. What is 108? Well, it's tied to Hassium. Hassium's icon, it's the dragon. The great dragon got hurled down. Yeah, it's light, folks. It's light. It is light. And this also ties to Uranus, the original spelling in Greek, 108. Something to do with Uranus, folks. What about the string of pi? 19 digits. Notice that the last digit is the number 8. Same with the golden ratio. So that's a dead giveaway, and that's 88, by the way. And you get the number 93. 93 million miles away the sun is. You see? 19 being the sun card. It's just really so easy to see this once you have all the tools. So when we say the word 19, we get the number 35. 35 is tied to the word simulation. That's what we're all playing out. We're playing out a scripted simulation. It looks and feels real, but nonetheless, we're just playing out a little game. And how about Eden through the connecting points of alchemy? Eden being 19, tied to the element potassium. I mean, the sun is measured in Kelvin. This stands for Callium, the Latinized spelling of it. But this is a dead giveaway right here. Tied to the sun because of the 19 being the sun card. But potassium comes from the word potash. Go look it up. Fact check it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But potassium comes from the word potash, 28. And that's a match to Lucifer being 28. And then just to kind of bring it all home here, here's the original spelling of Lucifer. From Isaiah 14 verses 12, it's 39, and there's 39 right there in the weight or atomic mass of potassium. So, it says Lucifer got kicked out of heaven. Right? Is Eden just heaven? I mean, heaven equals 27, which is tied to cobalt and the goblin, but nonetheless, it's all there, part of the story, right? And this is all allegorical, of course. And then what about when you say the sun? 28. 19th card is the sun card. Tied to Eden. I mean, you could see all the connecting points here. All 28 in the same cipher. Found from potassium. Potash is the original spelling. What about when you say potassium itself? Well, you get the number 37, and that's tied to the word shepherd. The shepherd needs the sheep. Who are the sheep? Well, mankind. Sheep equals 26, linking to iron in our blood. But it's also tied to the eye in the sky. So the 19 tied to the sun card. If we go back here it is. What's the eye in the sky? The sun. What is the sun? It's Eden. And, the eye in the sky being the 37. What is the shepherd? The eye in the sky. It looks over the sheep. It's the eye in the sky, the all-seeing eye. That's why the all-seeing eye is not evil, folks. When they make the triangle over their eyes, it's not evil. It just means the eye in the sky. Great song by Alan Parsons, The Eye in the Sky. Looking at you, the maker of fools. I can read your mind, of course. All those lyrics, all true. Because we're living out a predestined script. And you ain't going to move it. You ain't going to change it. You just got to play it out. I mean, here's a dead giveaway here. Here's the 37th element on the periodic table, rubidium. Look at what the icon is for this element. I mean, it's a freaking eyeball. This is the joke again. To me, this is the cosmic joke. And rubidium having 37 protons. The shepherd, the eyes, the eye in the sky. It's right there. The electric eye. And there's the 85 for the average weight of rubidium. And if you watched my Serpent Decoded, I showed how the number 16, tied to the word snake and light, when you put it into the string of the golden ratio, gold means the sun, it occupies digits 219 and 220, which is 439, and 439 is the 85th prime number. So that 85, tied to light and snake, is tied to the eye in the sky, which is where light comes from. The sun. The eye in the sky. Eden. And the shepherd. It's all right there, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the last piece for this part of the presentation. Just kind of recap. So the eye in the sky, 37. Remember, 19, 37, 46, because the next topic's recycled. 37, when you say the word judgment, it's going to be 37, and it's the 20th card. And remember, garden is 20. Matter is 20. Duality is 20. So is the eye in the sky going to judge you? I don't know how that would be possible when this reality is scripted. Well, but the tarot says that's what they think it is. But maybe we have enough free will to get judged upon. That's why I said, hey, can't rule it out. That's why you best be a good person. Don't be a jackass. Go be service to others. Go help people. Go take care of yourself. Go take care of people. Don't try to push your weight around and think your ego is all that. We're all guilty of it. But if you want to check off the box just to make sure, well, if you think you're going to get judged and you think you got that free will to do it, make sure you're getting out there and you're being helping other people. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis to help other people? That's the big question. It's not up to me. I don't live your life. Right? But what are you doing to help the world make it a better place? If there is such a thing as free will, what are you doing if you think that you're going to get judged? It's possible. Can't leave it out. So you might as well make sure you check all those things off the list. But nonetheless, this 37, if you've been paying attention, because now we're going to get into the next topic, recycled. This is Eden's recycled garden. And do we just get recycled back in? Recycled? Reincarnation? I mean, do you just get recycled back until you figure it out? If you bring into, in ancient Egypt, the halls of Amenti are all about you realizing that you're in an illusion. You're in a simulation. And that's how you graduate. You don't pay attention to the simulation anymore. You don't give it your energy. That's what I think anyway. But nonetheless, let's get into this last topic. Recycled, found from this 37. Found from the eye in the sky and the shepherd and the all-seeing eye. Let's get into that. Now, we're going to start with this right here. 19, 37, 46. Now, for those of you that are new, I'm going to take you through this really quickly. If you go to the string of pi and you type in 19, you're going to notice that it appears at the 37th decimal digit. So then I'm going to type in 37, and you're going to notice that 37 appears at the 46th decimal digit. And then I'm going to type in 46, and you're going to notice that 46 appears at the 19th decimal digit. So you just keep going, and then you go back to 19. And it's just this loop as it keeps going on and on. And here's the loop. This is the only anomaly I've ever found in the string of pi. I've scoured it high and low. And we're living out pi. Pi is the sine and cosine wave, which rules this reality tied to magnetism and electricity. So here are the 3 tarot cards to get the picture of what it may mean to get recycled back into the game. And this is in no particular order, because, the 37 may sit at the top or the 46 may sit at the top, but let's just start with Eden and the sun. 19. The word battery equals 19. So we start with the sun, and then we go to the 37. And now we have the Ace of Cups. So the dove flies down with the Eucharist into the cup, and the cup is overflowing. And notice that big W on that cup. Remember what that W is? It's tied to wolfram and tungsten, and tied to the sun, the patterns of the sun. That W is. Check out my Superstar Decoded, parts 1, 2, and 3. Show the patterns of the sun. It makes a zigzag pattern shape, like a pendulum, in the form of a W. And there it is. And it's overflowing. And then the 46 card is the 10 of Cups, which is happy home. So you would have the sun, you would have the moon, and then you would have Earth. right here. And it means happy home. And what's really interesting is, like, this is the 10 of hearts. Well, guess who has that for their birth card? A founding date. How about the Society of Jesus? September 27th is the 10 of Cups Day. How about that? That's right. And this means earth. The 10 of Cups. You'll start paying attention. You can see how important the 10s are. 10 is the binary system, which is massive importance in our reality. The zeros and ones. That's how you read it through the digital world. So then if we add these up, 19 plus 37 plus 46, you're going to get 102. And you're going to get into this element called rhodium. And rhodium, of course, is the 45th element. 45 is tied to the words mind control. I think I got it right here. So think about what I'm showing you here. Being recycled and maybe not having a choice in it. You're just being played. Role play is 30. Demiurge is 30. Rhodon, where rhodium came from, is 30. Mind control is 45. Pandora's box is 45. Rhodium has 45 protons. All found from 19, 37, 46, 102. And it's, the RH factor in the blood for some of you. And if you study this is tied to the Rosicrucians. This element right here is the rose that gives the bees honey. And that's right. It's the all-seeing eye tied to this recycle process. So here are the cards of illumination, which precedes the tarot, and what they have to say about it. So you get the 19th card in the deck, the 6 of clubs. Remember, this is tied to the Elohim, because 6 of clubs equals 41, and 41 equals Elohim. So you get the Elohim right here, supposedly the creators of mankind, through the Torah and Judaism, and Christianity, of course, because they're one and the same. And then the 37 tied to the moon is going to be the Jack in the Box, the Jack of Diamonds. And how important have I been showing this? And if you're not Jack, you're Jill. And it's going to be the Queen of Diamonds, because these are going to be 37 and 38. But to make it easy, it's the Jack of Diamonds. And then here's the card representing Earth, the 7 of Spades. 7 meaning the 7 chakras, 7 colors of the rainbow. And this card right here is tied to Earth, the 7 of Spades. 7 of Spades. And then when you say these 3 cards through numerology, notice it has 37 letters tied to the eye in the sky, but it's 6 of clubs, Jack of diamonds, 7 of spades. It's 155. And then you bring it right back into this element right here called gadolinium. Gadolinium has several atomic masses. One of them is 155. And this is telling you you're on television. You're on television. You're live in front of the whole world. Ed Harris and The Truman Show was not joking. That to me is factual. We're in a movie. It's theater down here. And you're an actor or actress. And then when you go a little bit further, ladies and gentlemen, to finish this presentation of Eden's Recycled Garden, if you take the 155 and you put it into the string of the golden ratio, you notice that you get pi right there. You get a permutation of pi. 3,114th decimal digit, that's where it's found. That's 3.141. That's a permutation of pi. And, if that didn't impress you, bam, you put it into the string of pi itself, and 155 appears at the 314th decimal digit. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. I mean, the trifecta, the recycled process, 1937-46, through the cards of illumination, through the tarot, you can clearly see what's going on in this reality. And, are these absolutes? Well, again, you have to make that decision. But I think, this is pretty crystal clear. Check out this is off of Westworld Decoded. I think Westworld did a great job telling us perhaps how this reality works. I feel like mankind's being role played. So you just got to figure out what your part is. Don't get angry at the code. Stop watching the mainstream. Start to discover who you are and why you're here. I know thyself. That's the age of Aquarius anyway. I know that. Do you know who you are? Discovering who you are and why you're here is going to be absolutely necessary to graduate to the next stage of evolution in this game called life. I think anyway. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it, man. What did you see? Would love to hear what you saw during this presentation. So keep your comments coming. Just keep them cordial. Don't be a dink with your comments. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. I'm not here to defend anything in my research. My research speaks for itself. If you have a difference of opinion, cool. Go create a channel, go create some videos, or at least support your opinion. But the proof's in the pudding with all the things that I show right here. Show you how the machinations of this reality works and the possibilities. Notice I said the possibilities, because you have to make the truth your own, right? You have to make the truth your own. All that matters is what you see and what you believe, not what I say or what I show. So I'd love to hear what you saw during this presentation. That's all I got for today, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will, of course, see you later.